Lately on X, a firestorm has been raging. Not that that's unusual, exactly, but this one has a bit of a twist, in that it centers on AI and bikinis. It all began with the recently added image editing capabilities of Grok, X's integrated AI. Users around the world have discovered that Grok is both willing and able to modify images in unusual and somewhat risque ways. For instance, if you've ever wanted to see what the 3 starter Pokemon look like in bikinis, well, this is your moment. Users around the site have also been eager to try out the new image editing capabilities on themselves. Even Elon Musk has joined in on the fun. However, some uses of Grok's new abilities have met with more controversy. In particular, many users, especially cosplayers, have found their comment sections inundated with requests that Grok modify the photos they've posted, typically by putting them in more revealing clothing than whatever they had on. And as all this has gone on, many have expressed anger.
I think you should die. I think I should kill you. I've been thinking about it a lot. Yes, I do want you to die. I don't really care if it's painful or not. I just don't want you to exist anymore.
As with any social media controversy, there's an ethical question we can ask here. Is it morally okay to use AI in this way to generate and post revealing images of someone else, however fake the images may be? To those who are not okay with this use of AI, the major reason appears to revolve around consent. The thought is that unless someone has given their consent to it, modifying their images in this way is a violation of privacy, or a form of harassment, or something in that ballpark. But is this obviously true? For one reason to think things might be a little less clear, we can consider a different use of AI image editing. Suppose that someone uses AI to modify someone else's photo in a non-sexual way, such as making the person in the photo wave to the camera, or read a book, or wear a Santa hat. Does using AI to make modifications like these require consent? Arguably not. At least by my lights, to suppose that even such basic or bland modifications as these would somehow be a violation of privacy, or a form of harassment if done without the subject's consent, would be to embrace too extreme a stance on the ethics of image editing. But then, if consent isn't needed to modify someone's photo in these ways, why might it be needed to modify someone's photo in the more risque ways? If the answer is simply that the more risque ways, by their very nature, are more sexual, then my worry would be whether it's possible to hold such a view without, at some level, embracing a negative view of sexuality itself. After all, if sex is fundamentally something dirty and bad, then it's easy to see why modifying someone's image in a sexual way would require special permission. Take away the prudish or puritanical view of sex, though, and the reason why there's a need for special permission for such image modifications arguably becomes less clear. For another comparison, we might ask, would it require someone's consent to use Photoshop to manually sexualize an existing image of them? If not, then it's difficult to see why things would be any different when it comes to AI. On the other hand, if we feel that consent would be required in the Photoshop case, then what about making one's own realistic sexual illustration of someone else from scratch? Perhaps some would say that consent is required even for this, though my worry there would be whether such a stance can be fully reconciled with the moral freedom of the artist. A further consideration is whether AI-generated sexual photos might be used to embarrass or blackmail or otherwise harm people IRL, such as by threatening to send them to a person's boss or possibly conservative family members. There are, however, a few reasons to think that this is becoming less of a concern than it perhaps used to be. For one thing, we're rapidly moving toward a world where it's common knowledge that AI can be used to make such photos. And so, for anyone who wants to claim that a given racy photo of them was generated by AI, such a claim will be highly credible. More generally, it seems likely that the proliferation of such AI-generated photos is moving us closer to a world where it's just not a big deal to have spicy bikini photos of you, when it's trivially easy for everyone to have sexualized copies of photos be made of them. Perhaps it's the same as no one. And insofar as this makes any given person's life be less subject to scandal for having a sexual photo of themselves be leaked, perhaps that's a good thing. In any case, this debate is, of course, nowhere close to ending, and it wouldn't surprise me if it's looked back on someday as one of the first real flashpoints in society's confrontation with the new capacities of image editing, one with broader implications about the boundaries of consent and freedom of expression in an AI-infused world. But what do you think? If you have thoughts on the debate you'd like to add, feel free, as always, to add them in the comments.